Welcome to ACT Fitness Radio, the podcast teaching you to aspire, conquer, and transform your body and mind. Here's your host, Adam Castro.
All right, what's up, everybody? My name is Adam, and I'm here with Jaylene.
Hey.
And you are listening to ACT Fitness Radio, the number one fitness podcast in all of Whittier, California.
That's right.
That's right. If you're looking for fitness information, look no further because we've got you covered, especially with today's episode.
Mm-hmm.
Today's topic is going to be what you should be focused on when you are working out in the gym. But first, I have actually an announcement to make. This is episode 21.
21.
21. Does that mean we can like drink now during our podcast
Buy
episodes?
our listeners drinks.
Yeah, like
Sure,
we're
why not?
adult. Like we're adulting right now.
That's true.
The podcast itself is adulting.
Well, then I feel like we should have had some sort of grand introduction for 18 because then we could buy lottery tickets and smoke and stuff.
I know. 18. I don't. What was 18? What episode was 18? I forget.
I don't even know.
Wasn't that?
I have to.
You can.
Look
I mean,
I
totally
have
look
my
it up.
handy dandy phone right
Handy-dandy
here.
phone. But I will go ahead and since we're 21, your episode's old.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. Here we go. That's
Popping
right.
open
Popping
the
open the can.
Zevia.
Yes, it's a Zevia. It's not an alcoholic drink, people. It's not an alcohol will not help you with your fitness goals, okay?
Not at all.
Get that nugget of information out there right now. It's just some nice,
don't go
good old
there.
Zevia. And then Jaylene's looking up right now what episode 18. I have a feeling it was that wasn't Matt, was it? Was it with Matt from the factory?
It was your Big Bear Spartan Race Sprint.
All right.
Part 1.
Part 1. Part 2 was Wednesday's episode.
Yeah.
Part 2 is Wednesday's episode. Part 1 was 2 weeks before that.
Correct.
All right. Matt was after that. So awesome. So yeah, we're 21 episodes old. I want to say years. We're 21. We're older than 21. 21 episodes old, and super excited because this means that we are now an adult podcast. That means you should be very excited for the things to come. We have a bright future ahead of us.
We do.
We're stepping out into the world.
We sure are.
Before we get started in the topic, I just have to say right now, there's very few moments where weird things are beautiful, and
That's interesting to say.
Jaylene was able to accomplish this today for me because Jaylene's always beautiful.
Oh.
But today she came over to the gym smelling like barbecued bacon. And there's not very few times when two things that you love dearly come together in one place, like bacon and your girlfriend.
Oh boy!
So this was just a beautiful moment for me. I come up and I kissed her, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, you smell like bacon."
Which is interesting because I did not have bacon. I'd actually just come from a bonfire, so I don't know where the hell the smell of bacon maneuvers out of the smell of bonfire, but okay, yeah.
Yeah, I came up and she's like, "Yeah, I just came back from a bonfire," so I was like, "Okay." But anyways, you guys, today's topic is what you should be focused on when you go in and work out in the gym. And you know what? This is a really important topic because I feel like so many people are going into the gym and they're just thinking about how they're going to just punish their body. They're coming in like it's war. Like they're going in the gym. They're going for the grind. They're gonna max out every single time. They need to get that 1 rep max. They need to go as hard as possible. AMRAP every day. And AMRAP is just as many reps as possible in a certain amount of time. Like they just got to push, 110%, no days off, hashtag, all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's a better way. There's a better way to go into the gym. There's a better focus to have. And here's the thing. When you're going into the gym, you really should not be focused on destroying your body. But in fact, you should really be focused on discovering it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just had a new client come in, and one of the things that she was able to realize was that she was actually very, very strong, very strong, but that there were still parts of her body that she had kind of never felt before.
Yeah.
She had never tapped into that strength in those particular areas.
Yeah, it was super cool to see because so she has been in the gym before, she's worked out before, but she's always kept to a 3 rep max, and then also doing 3 sets of whatever that 3 rep range would have been. So she hasn't really challenged her body outside of like going slower. She just like pumps things out really, really fast. She hasn't challenged her muscles and her body into what it means to go slower, and how you just develop like more of a connection to your body when you do go slower, because you get to feel the muscles individually. And she's at a low body fat percentage, so it's easier for her to see where her muscle development is, and then also where her imbalances are. So it's really cool to build upon someone who does have some gym experience but is not fully knowledgeable about the little things, like a little form, like paying attention to your ankles and where your feet are and things like that. Things like that can be especially hard, even for people who have been working out for years. If you don't have somebody there with you in the gym to tell you these things, how on earth are you going to know,
Yeah, and the connection is the key there.
Absolutely.
You have to be connected to your body.
Yeah.
When you're going into the gym. And like, what does that mean? What does it mean to be like connected to my body? I am my body,
Yeah, I am connected.
I am connected, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Maybe not by like yarn and a string, you're fully connected, hopefully.
Sure.
But it's this idea that you can go into the gym and you can do exercises, like you can do a chest press, you can do a barbell chest press, and maybe never feel your chest actually activate or not activate as well as it should be. You can do a pull-up but never really connect with your back. You can do push-ups but never really connect with your arms and your chest and things like that. Do a plank and never really connect with your abdominals. All of these movements that and this is just level 1. Like Jaylene mentioned, ankles and toes and feet and everything engaging. Like that's a level that's even beyond that. But even these basic muscle groups like the chest, the back, the arms, the legs, like if you're doing movements and you're not connected to those muscle groups, then we have a problem. And not that those movements aren't doing anything for you, but it's not as effective as if you were to actually learn and discover how to engage those muscle groups.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really cool because your muscles are not just feeling your muscles, rather, you're not just bound by the weight that you can lift.
Yeah, because you can even take smaller weight and go really, 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 really slow and engage those muscles, or even not even moving weight at all and just engaging. So that's when you play into like isometric movements.
Absolutely.
This is something that we've recently implemented a little bit more with like plate movements. When you're holding a plate, not a paper plate, like a a weight plate. When you're holding a weight plate and you're squeezing in, like that plate's not going to do anything. That plate's not going to move. But as you're squeezing in, you're definitely going to feel the chest engage way more than if you were just holding that plate without that intention. Or when you pull a plate towards your stomach and you do a row and you're squeezing that plate against your body, you're not going to be putting that plate through your body. That's not going to happen. But that extra engagement of those muscles that's occurring because you're pulling against a force that is immovable, so you can pull at a much higher intensity and engagement than if you were just lifting a weight. You're limited by that weight when you lift that weight.
Right.
But if you kind of step outside of that and apply more tension to the muscle as much as possible, even you'll be able to get a deeper connection to those muscle groups.
Yeah. That's essentially what I meant to say. So when you're lifting heavier weight, let's say you are doing, or just lifting. No, yeah, let's say heavier weight, whatever that may mean for you individually. Let's say you are lifting a heavier weight and you're squeezing your back, and you've been doing this for a while, so you know what feeling your back, or I'm sorry, so you know what squeezing.
I know what feeling my back feels like.
So you know what squeezing your back feels like, and then you switch from lifting what would be considered a heavy weight for you to something smaller, lighter, or even like a plate like you'd mentioned, and you bring that plate up to you and you're squeezing your back. It's not going to feel, at least in my experience, it didn't feel as engaged. It doesn't feel as heavy, but believe it or not, you're squeezing in completely different places, and you're squeezing even more so than when you're lifting that heavy weight.
Well, and here's the thing too, is that you're squeezing in good form with a weight that's not challenging that form. You are not squeezing you're not applying that tension with a weight that's going to risk you breaking out of form. You can be in perfect form doing a row with a 10-pound weight plate, as opposed to like a 135-pound barbell row. Which is definitely going to challenge your ability to keep your spine at neutral, challenge your ability to engage the biceps and pull without rounding the back too much. It takes that excess weight completely out of the equation so that you can just focus on holding that form and focusing on your central nervous system, squeezing as hard as possible to connect to that specific muscle group.
Yeah, I do like that you mentioned form, because your form, I think, in my personal opinion, I think that it's a little more challenged when you are lifting lighter weight, because you can't relax. There's a tendency to relax in certain areas, or maybe throughout the majority of your body when you're lifting a lighter weight, and you have to stay engaged
in order to feel the muscle. Yeah, but you know what, the good thing about those isometric movements is that you can relax and not be negatively affected by that. So like if I were to lift like a 135-pound barbell row and relax, well, I could risk pulling something. I could risk pulling my lower back.
Yeah,
the nice thing about like isometric with a 10, 15-pound plate is that if you do relax, okay, you're not supposed to in that isometric movement. You can't relax and expect to be engaged to that muscle.
Yeah.
That's obviously the whole point of having something that's light that you can press against that will not move. Is because that if you do want to get connected to that muscle, you have to squeeze hard and as hard as you can so that you can connect to that muscle. But if you can't and you find yourself struggling to do that and you need to relax for a second, that weight's not going to end up harming you because it's light enough to
right.
Not be a detriment.
I guess I just mean more along the lines of imbalance. So take myself, for example, I have scoliosis, right? And I tend to, my hips in general tend to lean more to one side than the other. When I don't have a heavier weight that is necessarily challenging me to be symmetrical, to be center, I won't. I'm not inclined to do that if there's nothing challenging me to do that. So I have to engage my hips. I have to engage whatever I need to engage to make sure that I'm doing that.
There's no weight that is challenging your body as much as an actual weight is, and so you do have to be a little bit more on top of you holding that form, embracing the whole body.
And I mean that for ankles as well too, right? You could easily relax your ankles. Let's say you have you turn to the inside of your ankles. You have that tendency to do that. If you more than likely, if you go down in the weight, if you have a lighter weight, you're gonna go right back to that comfort zone.
And okay, so for those of you who are just going into the gym and trying to we're talking about all these different movements like isometric, looking at your ankles, looking at all these things. If you're just going into the gym, the important thing to know is that your body does need to be connected with itself. You do need to be connected with your body, and some indicators that you're not are when we start to see things like you may not be looking at your ankles and your feet to see if more pressure's coming inward or outward, but little indicators are your knees coming in or your knees coming out.
Yes.
Because the ankles and feet are connected all the way up to the knees. And so when you see that the knees are coming in, that's an indicator that we're putting a little too much pressure on the inside of the foot rather than the outer portion. And then if we see the knees coming way too far out, or even like the whole inward part of the foot just coming off of the ground because you can't keep your foot on the ground. There's too much pressure coming on the outside. Like, these are all indicators that you are just not connected to your body.
Yeah.
And I cannot stress enough how important it is to make sure that you have that connection first before you start, like, lifts like the squat, lifts like the deadlift, where people are just so focused on the weight and not focused on what's going on in the mirror. This is why my mirrors are so important as well, because
It's
mirrors
true.
are going to tell you where your knees are going, where your hips are going, all of those things. And some people are just going to choose to add weight when their knees are looking like they got to use the restroom, and their hips are falling forward and rounding the back, and this could easily cause injury. And if anything, it's causing bad habits, so that when you think, oh yeah, I'm able to move up to the next plate, I'm able to move up to higher weight, you're just setting yourself up for a really, really bad fall.
It's great. It's absolutely great to be stronger and to be able to increase in weight and move up and do all of that. But it needs to happen properly. You need to be safe.
Yeah. And I was thinking about an analogy earlier today just to kind of explain what's going on here. And it's when you do something like that, when you are having really bad form, but you are increasing in weight and you're getting better. Like, your central nervous system is getting stronger. I actually envied for a long time people who could lift 405 before I could, and their form looked horrible, but they were doing it. And I'm like, man, these guys are crazy. These guys are amazingly strong.
Yeah.
Because they either like did sports or they just continued to grind and push and push and push, and they were lifting super heavy, and their form looked horrible, but they were doing it. Look, it's kind of like drawing. When you are able to color and draw within the lines, those little coloring books, and you're able to draw in the lines.
Yeah.
And you get better at doing that. Like, that's great. But what happens when those lines aren't there anymore? Are you still a good drawer? Because that's when it counts. When you just got a plain piece of paper in front of you and someone says, "Can you draw?" Now there's no more lines. Can you do it? And that's kind of what happens when you are lifting heavy weight and you're challenged with this weight that needs to have good form. Well, now that you're challenged and it's a weight that's going to potentially put your body in a position that's damaging to it, can you brace your central nervous system in good form in order to keep the body safe? And some people can't, and that's why they get injured, because they push so hard, but not thinking about actually fixing their form on their own.
Now I feel like I really have to check myself, because without those lines, I cannot draw for shit. I am all over the damn place.
I'm a pretty crappy drawer too.
Yeah, no, that's totally accurate. So let's like map out what the basics should be when you're going into the gym.
Yeah. So how can we keep ourselves from falling into that trap of creating damage to our body when we think that we're doing great, when we think that we're getting stronger, when in reality we're just setting ourselves up for that fall? Honestly, doing movements like body weight movements and those isometric movements that we were talking about, like playing with a plate and squeezing in to feel your chest. Like, when I have clients who are not connected with their bodies, I will try to find a way to get them connected with the body. Sometimes it's by taking a PVC pipe and having them pull it towards their face so that they can feel their biceps. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's taking a plate and squeezing it in so that they can feel their chest. Sometimes it's them holding a plank and actually doing it correctly for them to know how to engage their abdominals and how to brace and hold and challenge their central nervous system. There are ways to discover how to engage your body And you just have to recognize the importance of that, the importance of discovering how to engage your whole body from you gripping the ground, from you tensing up your legs, from you learning how to bring your hips forward to squeeze your glutes. I mean, that's a big one. Yeah. Squeezing the glutes. Like how connected are you to the strongest muscle in your body? Because some people are just not connected at all.
Right.
To your hips, to your core, to your chest, to your lats, to your traps, to your shoulder. All these muscle groups are on you, and you have the ability to summon them and to engage them. And I think first is that the first step that you need to take is going into the gym not with the mindset to destroy yourself, not with the mindset to punish yourself, to kill yourself, to try to burn as many calories as possible. You should be going into the gym with the goal of discovering more of your body and challenging it and challenging that discovery, trying to learn more and more, trying to learn how can I squeeze harder and harder, but in good form.
Yeah.
That's definitely step one going into the gym. As far as step two, then it becomes, okay, how can I apply this to certain movements that are very important? How can I apply this to the most important movements that are going to allow me to grow in strength and be able to hold good form? And those are movements like the squat, like the barbell squat, or even like a kettlebell squat and dumbbell squat, where you're needing to control the knees, control the hips, control your core, keep your body upright as you sit back and down. You got hip mobility, shoulder mobility, all of these things all playing at once, and being able to stay connected to your body through that movement just displays how much control or lack of control that you have.
Yeah, lack of control, absolutely. No person really has any business lifting heavier weight if your form is not first perfected or at least improved upon.
Yeah, and no person has any business lifting any kind of weight that they can't first control.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between throwing weight around and actually controlling it and manipulating it and allowing it to beneficially affect the body. Because again, you can do a squat with a bunch of weight on your back. You can bring it from point A to point B and then back up to point A. That's a rep. But we're not just focused on the rep. We're not just focused on what's happening from point A to point B. We're focused on what's going on in between that. We're focused on what's happening to the body. Is your body in control? Can you actually feel your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes all activating? Are you tensing up your leg? Are you keeping those knees from coming in and out? Are you keeping the core engaged as you come down and keeping it engaged as you come up? These are all things that are so important when you're doing just that lift.
Yeah, and I definitely don't want anyone to feel, or both of us rather, we don't want anyone to feel like you should beat yourself up if you're not doing these things either. There's always things to improve. You can always be learning more. And if these are things that you're not doing, this is the perfect time to start incorporating some of those things. But it's definitely not something to beat yourself up over. Just know that it is important and that it should be done.
Yeah, and it is unfortunate when you've got so many people around you in the gym who are just throwing around weight.
Yeah.
And you know what? It takes a lot of courage to be the one who takes off the 45-pound plate and puts on a 10.
It's humbling for sure.
It takes a lot of courage to be that person who is, taking that squat rack right next to that dude that's putting up 225 and you're there with 135, 95, or like I said, even 65 pounds, and you're just perfecting your form. You're discovering your body with a weight that you can do that with, because I'm sure, and here's the other thing too. Is there time to push your body to its limits? Is there a time to do that? Absolutely. There's a time to discover how far you can push your central nervous system and whole body. Absolutely. But when you're just starting off in the gym, that is not the time.
Yeah.
That's not the time.
Yeah.
This is a discovery phase. This is when you're learning how to use your body underneath weight. This is when you're learning how to do these certain movements. This is when you're learning about what these body parts even are. I mean, there was a period of time where Jaylene was continually asking me, "What's a bicep again?" Like, I totally
Yeah.
remember when that was totally a thing. Like every other day when we'd work out together, when we were like working out in college, Jaylene would ask like, "What's a bicep again?" And you know what? It's true. Like people just don't think about it. These things are on your body. Like you should be an expert. You should be an expert on your own body. Mm-hmm. You really should. I mean, knowing what things are called, knowing how to engage certain things, knowing what your range of motion is in certain body parts. Like I know for me that my hips are my weakest link. My hips are my weakest link, whereas Jaylene has like amazing hip mobility, and she has super strength in that. Whereas she does have scoliosis, and so being able to move with her lumbar spine is a little bit of a challenge.
For sure.
And that's something that I'm a little better at, but we have those strengths and weaknesses in both of our bodies, and that is a characteristic of who we are and how we move in the gym, and it's going to determine which exercises we do.
Yeah.
And if we didn't go through that discovery process in our own selves, then we wouldn't know which exercises to be doing regularly, which exercises are going to be a good challenge for us, an appropriate challenge. There's some high school athlete kids who their coach tells them to do like cleans and clean and jerks and the snatch and all these things, and these kids look like they're about to, have a weight fall flat on their head.
Yeah,
and that's
not
not an appropriate challenge for them.
Right.
Can they work up to that? Absolutely. And are those exercises beneficial for them? Absolutely. But you need to know what your appropriate challenge is for you specifically.
Yeah.
That's a big part of what we do as personal trainers, is just learning for each and every individual client that we see what is an appropriate challenge for them. Sometimes it's going right into a barbell squat. Sometimes it's doing a bodyweight squat. Sometimes it's doing a box squat where they have to sit down on a box and then stand up. Everybody's different, but the goal is to continually discover and learn how to engage the body. And we even have to do that. Like we even go through different phases of going through the motions. Like
Absolutely.
It is easy to just focus on getting the weight from point A to point B.
Remembering what it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even learning, like there's always more to learn about. Like you have so
Always.
many individual muscle fibers. It is impossible to be connected with each and every one. And so you can absolutely go back to a different rep range or a different exercise that you haven't done in a long time, or a different focus or modality of fitness, and be able to learn more and more and more.
Yeah, and our bodies are totally, if not already doing so, totally will thank us for all of these things in the long run.
Absolutely. You better believe that person who's like putting up that heavy weight and not thinking about their form, like they're probably in agony going to sleep. They're probably in agony waking up. And I even remember being in that place when I would do a full leg day, just pushing the body. I would go to work afterwards and jump out of the car, and I could like barely feel my legs trying to get to work. And then the next morning, just like not wanting to step out of bed because I was just so sore.
Yeah.
So that is there's a time and place for that. Definitely not when you're just starting off. Absolutely not. And definitely not something you want to be doing even as an advanced lifter all the time. Like you should not be focused on damaging the body. You should be focused on getting stronger, having a better discovery of your body, and ultimately just taking baby steps to challenge that discovery, challenge that form to heavier and heavier amounts of weights. And that will be far more beneficial to you than just trying to cheat your way to heavier weight and not think about your form, because all you're going to do is end up putting up heavy weight, looking like a buffoon, honestly. Really, like looking like a buffoon, just swinging weights around without actually controlling that weight, and end up risking injury for yourself in the long run. So what should you be focused on when you're going into the gym? Just focus on discovering your body, focus on good form, focus on exercises that are appropriately going to challenge you. And if you need help, if you need guidance, then seek it. Like
ask. Ask. Don't be afraid.
Yeah, don't be afraid. There's so many people who are able to help you. Sometimes they're right there with you in the gym. Sometimes they're online sources. We would love to help you in this journey to discover your body and to do it in the correct way.
And definitely seek multiple resources. Don't just hold fast to one. Learn from different people. Ask different questions to different people.
No. Just come to us. I'm just kidding. No, like even for us, as we continually learn more about ourselves, like we listen to like 10 different podcasts. We look up like 10 different YouTube channels.
Don't just trust that one guy who's lifting really heavy in the gym, standing right next to you, has all of the answers. Like ask so many people.
That is the last thing you should do. Do not go to the big buff guy and say, "How did you get those muscles?"
Oh, I have so much compassion for like the high schoolers who are finally able to go into the gym and work out, or even middle school. I think 13 is like the minimum age that you can be to go into the gym. And you're super excited and stoked and you want to learn more, and you probably have all of this bodybuilding.com apparel and protein stuff and whatever other supplements you might have. And you're super excited and you're just thirsty for knowledge, and you seek it from these beefheads who have been doing the same thing consistently for so long, and themselves. I don't mean to stereotype and put them in a box. Just more often than not, it becomes this way. They're so set in their ways, and they're just going to teach you all that they know. We're in a day and age where you have so many resources to you. I know book reading is not the most popular thing in the world, but you have so many books. There's podcasts. YouTube is just a wonderful resource. Ask questions, look up different videos, and seek other resources.
Yeah, because 9 times out of 10, that big old buff dude that's in the gym has a needle of truth and a needle of lie, if you know what I mean, along with whatever that person's saying. Not every big buff dude is taking steroids, like not at all. But unfortunately, there are a majority of people, especially in corporate gyms, who are going just trying to show off their muscles, trying to be a celebrity in their gym, off of these steroids they're taking. And now, you know what? Now, if you go on these people's Instagrams and watch their stories, you actually might see a needle and a little thing of testosterone there, because now people are like they're not even ashamed about it anymore. They're just going out and saying, "Yeah, I do this. Yeah, I do that." And the unfortunate thing is that once they start doing that, you have nothing in common with them. You have nothing in common with the way that they grow muscle. They can get away with so much stuff that you just simply cannot get away with. And I'm talking specifically to the guys in this, because there's not a lot of girls who are like, "I want to gain a whole bunch of muscle." There really aren't. For the women though, don't just go following around that girl that has that big booty thinking that she did something right to do that. There's a lot of women who just have big butts. There's a lot of women
genetically gifted,
and it's not because of the band exercises they do. It's not because of the donkey kicks that they do.
Or
it's not
the protein shakes they drink.
It's just because they genetically have big butts. I'll never forget the day I had a client who showed me a picture of Demi Lovato and was like, "I want legs like her." And my poor client has had the skinniest legs, and unfortunately she just did not have the genetic makeup to hold body fat in her legs like Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato does. She has a lot of body fat in her legs, a lot of body fat in the rear. So unfortunately, if you just aren't geared that way, then you're probably not going to end up looking that way. Is there modifications that you can make to your body? Absolutely. But you should again, this is part of the whole discovery thing. Don't go into the gym with this idea that you are going to be someone else. You will never, ever be someone else. You are going to become the healthiest version of you. And that's again, where your focus should be, is discovering what is the healthiest version of you. Mm-hmm. Do you hold body fat in your stomach, your arms, your chest, your legs, your thighs? Like where do you hold body fat? Yeah. That's you. That's a part of who you are. Where do you build muscle? Where do you build muscle the easiest? That is a part of who you are, whether you're a man or a woman. and you shouldn't fight that. You shouldn't try to combat that.
Yeah,
but instead
yeah.
just discover what is going to be the healthiest version of you. Guys, that is all we have for today. And we'll definitely have to talk more about this topic in another episode.
Absolutely.
But for now, that's going to be it. If you like this episode, then be sure to leave us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. If you don't know how to do that, let me explain. All you got to do is go to the search icon, search ACT Fitness Radio. In fact, even if you're already subscribed to us, and you haven't left us a review yet, this is the only way to leave us a review, is to actually go still to that search icon, search ACT Fitness Radio, scroll down to the reviews, and then you can leave us a 5-star rating and review. And if you haven't subscribed to ACT Fitness Radio, then go ahead and do so you'll be updated on more new episodes. And be sure to visit www.actfitnessacademy.com if you're interested in learning about us, working with us, or interested in our free resources that we provide there. Until next time, guys, see you then.
TTFN.
Take care.